invite yourselves to come and do the photo ops, which you haven't been able to do post-COVID. So effectively, this will be the first physical National Executive Committee post-COVID. We'll also be giving the NEC a feel of the state of readiness to host the national conference based on the work that is being done by the National Conference Preparatory Committee that is led by our Treasurer General, Comrade Paul Mashatile. We met yesterday in the National Conference Preparatory Committee to receive various reports on conference logistics. We can confirm to members of the media, our structures and the general public that the ANC stand ready to host conference. We must again thank the many teams that are working towards making sure that we could ultimately host a successful conference. This is the very team that delivered a successful national policy conference that we just held now in July. Before we go into specific issues around communications, I also want to bring to your attention some of the issues that the Electoral Committee said we must also take you on board on. This has got to do with disclosures and declaration of financial records for campaigns for NEC positions. Comrade Khalema, leading the Electoral Committee of the ANC, has already written to the Acting Secretary General, Comrade Paul Mashatile, and all our provinces and branches, effectively outlining this important principle of disclosures which we have deliberated on as the NEC, that this will be in compliance with the rules of the 55th National Conference, that all comrades who are campaigning to be nominated and elected for various NEC positions are directed that all candidates and their campaign teams must keep a clear record of all sources of donations in money or in kind and all spending on their campaign. The full financial record of every campaign must be maintained and submitted to the Electoral Committee. All campaigns must submit detailed financial records to the Electoral Committee. The Electoral Committee has a right to demand further particulars and to inspect bank statements of candidates, campaigns and campaign workers, and to interview members of campaign teams. In accordance with the rules approved by the National Executive Committee, all comrades who are campaigning for various NEC positions during the 55th National Conference are instructed to submit the name of their campaign manager and fundraiser, budget for the campaign with expenditure items, source of donations in funds or in kind, a full statement of income and expenditure. They also they've given email addresses of where such could be submitted, and emphasized that failure to disclose and declare the financial records as directed by Electoral Committee shall be a serious misconduct which could lead to all implicated in being subjected to disciplinary action and disqualified from being candidates for the NEC positions with possible expulsion from the ANC. The Electoral Committee also observed that some ANC leaders and members are in violation of the rules by negatively campaigning against other potential NEC candidates during the nomination process, and reminded comrades that no ANC member or candidate may use any form of negative campaigning against another candidate or group of candidates. Campaigns should focus on reasons to support your candidature. Any member involved in the prohibited activities during campaigns may be suspended or expelled from the ANC following disciplinary action. Any candidate whose campaign supporters participate in such activities must condemn the actions of their supporters and may be disqualified if they do not make a strong effort to end this abhorrent behavior. Any ANC member with information and complaints regarding the negative campaigning against others should lodge such disputes in writing to the Electoral Committee and provide all the relevant details, such as the name of the alleged perpetrator, as well as the venue and time where the misconduct took place. Evidence such as photos and videos should be submitted to the Electoral Committee when lodging such complaints. Well, in our regular meetings that sit every Friday or to really look into the communications environment. One of the issues, and those meetings are chaired by Comrade Gwen Ramogopa, one of the issues that we really looked into was this one of negative campaigning. That we encourage our cadres to campaign in a dignified and respectful manner, talk about their own candidature, promote their own ideas, why they think they should be nominated. The process that the Electoral Committee has led, which bars slates, allows branches to have a much more participatory role in really determining who should lead their organization, should be embraced by all of us in the National Executive Committee, in provincial executive committees, in RECs, in BECs, should work to embrace that. We must commend our organizing division, led by Comrade Senzo, Comrade Nomvola, and Comrade Dakota, to have steered the ship with the new membership system. And that new membership system has effectively isolated a number of gray areas that we experienced in the past, like your signature campaigns and all of that. Now people are able to sit. The other week, the previous week when we sat with the media, we did explain how the new membership system is working and aiding to avoid disputes. When I was talking to Comrade Nomvola today, just around this briefing, part of what came out of that conversation was that the new membership system is able to even ensure that you minimize on the number of disputes. By the time your branches qualify, you effectively have eliminated possible disputes. So she was saying that we will be dealing with lesser disputes this time around. So it will be for the first time. Going to a conference of the ANC with a modernized, digitized membership system. And we hope that in all other future conferences that the ANC is expected or will be hosting, the experiences learned out of this national conference will serve to boost our work. So now, comrades, we had outlined a program previously on the nomination processes. The nominations end on the 7th. The consolidation of provincial nominations, 6 officials and 80 NECs per province, by-elections agency, and provincial observers. This should be done by the 12th of November, which is that other week, Monday. Screening and vetting, collecting acceptance forms and CVs for those successfully nominated, elections agency and provincial nomination coordinators by the 18th of November. So the next 2 weeks are quite important, especially in this nomination processes. 22nd of November, it's appeals and complaints about nominees meeting or not meeting criteria. 24th of November, final successful nomination list published and emailed to branches. Top 3 nominees for each official position and top 200 nominees for additional NEC positions. At conference, nominations added from the floor if they get 25% support. So this is the threshold. Now let me clarify this point, because some of yourselves from the media have been asking about PGCs. It's very important that we clarify this. If provinces convene provincial general councils, they may do so to consolidate their own provincial views on various resolutions or various policy discussion documents that would have been discussed at the National Policy Conference. So the PGCs of the ANC, unlike what we had experienced in the past, are no longer going to sit to consolidate a provincial view on who they want as a candidate. So I hope that clarifies Tando, Business Day, so that we are clear on what these PGCs will be doing. In the past, you would have needed to go to the PGC to consolidate a provincial view. The new guidelines that deals with these processes now put that authority on branches of the African National Congress. It is the view of branches which is ultimately going to prevail. So when the lists are published, it will say, in this province of Gauteng, in terms of your consolidated nomination, Mbali as Deputy Secretary General received 200. And if 200 was the highest number of people who nominated on that position, it means that Mbali would be number 1 in that province. If Tando gets 150 of the total nominees for that position, it means that Tando will be number 2. If another one gets 100, it means they will be number 3. It works like that. So that members of the media don't go around looking for thresholds. So what threshold are you supposed to get from branches? You must get the highest from branches. You must enjoy the highest popular vote from branches for you to be on the ballot. And so that cadres don't spend time buying calculators, trying to divide and all of that. It can be tedious. And then the same applies to additionals, but then that whole process then gets to be consolidated. And then you then say, in terms of all of the provinces, this is what the Electoral Committee has consolidated. They are already deploying teams to various provinces. Those teams are beginning with their work in earnest. The leagues are expected to sit this weekend to consolidate their own views. But they are going to consolidate their own views in a democratic way. I don't want to do fela ke magabana or no nyaga mbali ja fela lo for a line la khetana like in a BGM. So everything is going to be quite democratic this time around. Must say this process that has been introduced as part of the electoral efforts to enhance the electoral internal democratic process of the ANC and our own electoral efforts have been quite exciting and interesting. We urge our members to continue making sure that in everything else that they do during this period, they confine themselves to our own internal processes and disciplines and stick to the discipline of the African National Congress. Now, just on your own communications arrangements, the registration portal is now available online, hosted on www.anc1912.org.za. So today officially marks the kickstart of the registration process for the media. The media relations team will issue regular reminders on the platforms to remind media houses about their accreditation. We also encourage broadcasters not to use the link, but instead send a consolidated list of deployed team members to our media relations team. I'm sure here we wanted to really relay this to technical teams, but journalists can still go there. So that register list. So journalists must register. Your technical team can send the list. So it's easy. Kaya FM, your broadcasters, your technical team can send the list. Because www.anc1912.org.za. But we will issue a statement that outlines all of this. We'll also just try and show how this registration takes place in a practical format. So we'll work with Amos to make sure that we've got that. So I must emphasize this. No late submissions are going to be allowed. At the National Policy Conference, we were oversubscribed. We had members of the media coming at the door of the policy conference wanting to be accredited. I must say this. If you don't register on our portal, even if you have got my WhatsApp number, private number, and know my first name, you are not going to be allowed. It's as easy as that. At the national conference, we are going to work according to a schedule. You are going to make requests for interviews. We are not going to find journalists just picking up whoever they want to interview. There's going to be order. You try and do that, and we've got clear evidence that you were doing that with Lailoelela TV conference. You will see it as it happens. So we're going to be quite strict this time around because we lose control. Before you know it, journalist interview. No, we can't have that. If you want to, no, we're going to that. If you want to do interviews on the sidelines of the national conference, you make requests. We have divided the media team or the communications team into various work streams. There is a team responsible for media relations, led by Amos Parr. There will be a team that deals with our digital media platforms, social media. There will be a team that deals with media production. There will be assigned cadres to the various teams. Like we had at the National Policy Conference, we will have a press room where we will conduct briefings from time to time. So requests must be done up front. That ourselves as Kaya FM, we may want to talk to Paul Mashadile on whatever issue. Or we may want to talk to Gwen Ramokhopa on this issue. So you make those requests to us up front. So there will be a team that manages that part, the schedule of interviews. So we're not going to do what we did at the policy conference, where members of the media are going to use their relationships with provinces. Not this time around. No, it's not going to work, that one. We see a member of the media doing that, and there's going to be people, we're going to have media monitors on the ground, whose job is going to be to monitor your activities so that you operate within the communications protocols of conference. You are not going to be censored. You are going to be allowed to do your work freely, but how you do your work is going to have to be controlled. The ANC is an organization of... No, it's not censorship. In our own conference. So you want to be in closed sessions of conference? Really? Is that what you are saying? Can I conclude? We invited you here to come and tell you how we're going to run our conference. Our conference. Not our own conference. So we are telling you how we are going to run our conference. So let's not be confused. This is not a soccer match. It's a conference of the ANC. So no, you can do your own conference at Sunday Times. You are welcomed. So it's our conference. As a government, as a musho, so don't be confused. The conference of the ANC. So let's just, when we leave here, we must remember we went into a press conference of the ANC to be told about the conference of the ANC. So there's no confusion. In the ANC, we do things the ANC way. So there's not. So when you have got request and you want to talk to anyone, we won't stop you. We just want it to be done in an organized way. Imagine if all of you wanted to talk to one person at the same time and you all want to talk to them individually. How are you going to do it? Again, that's what for start. But if you do requests, I'm able to give you. If you want to talk to former presidents of the ANC, let's can't we talk to Thabo Mbeki? No, you make requests. Then we make them available. Then we make them available for you. No, but I can't. But you know, I mean, one of the things we've done is that we will never bar journalists from talking to anyone. That part I can confirm. You have got access to all the leaders of the ANC, but get that access through ourselves. I get there's no scoop in a conference, comrades, unless there's a big scoop. Okay, I don't know of conference scoops. Maybe you guys who get conference scoops will come and brief us offline. I don't know, but maybe they are. I'm just saying, as national spokesperson at the conference, my job is to make sure that even a journalist who writes for Herald can get access to a national leader. That's my job, that someone from Theta FM can be able to interview a national leader of the ANC. I've got that duty. So I've got to make sure that we strike a balance between yourselves in the mainstream and those that are in the digital media space and those that are in the community media space. Everyone who participates in conference as a media person, where they have got requests, they must feel that such requests were granted. But to make sure that we don't deal with different requests, we will make these leaders available from time to time to come and talk to yourselves in the press room. I'm sure you saw how well it worked during the policy conference. You know, I mean, from time to time, there's always someone who comes to the press room to come and give you update. Catering, I don't need to say, you have seen it. You've got an area dedicated to yourselves alone. So we take you guys quite seriously. So your area is going to be cordoned like it was at the policy conference. If you want to go on the other side, you indicate, and then you are nicely marshaled into the open space. So that let's get timela. Don't want people let's get confused a little delegate. So you must be in your own space. So it's no the journalist. But what we'll do is that we'll open the space to make sure that we give you access to the conference venue, to cover conference, to go to commissions, to give you a feel. So we are arranging a site visit to Nasrec with yourselves. So already some media houses have already indicated their own requirements. I now appeal to you that you give us all your requirements up front. Part of the idea that we are discussing with the TGO through the Progressive Business Forum is to see if we can have day passes for those that want to participate in the conference but coming into the media arena. So the press room will almost be like a media arena that we can also open to the public who just want to come and have a feel of the conference. So it's just whatever number when now as journalists. South Africa. Well, I mean, the governing party, such an important organization in the country, the governing party, hosts a conference, allows you guys to come in, but does not think about how do we then allow others who may be stakeholders. It's an idea we're just because the ANC conference is of great interest to everyone. To respond to Mbali Tetani's question, the link will be active until the 18th of November. And again, we want to hear BGM. How na extension? More how na 70%. If you don't register by the 18th, it's not like a BGM. Are extend cut. So the other issues we have already reported on. But the other interesting update is that we will also have on site at the conference our own radio freedom. So what the communications team has been working on was the recalibration of Radio 1912 in a podcast form to be one of the official mediums that those that are unable to come to the conference can still be able to access. We have been in discussions with the broadcasters, the SABC, as well as Starset, to make sure that during that period of conference, we have got documentaries that tell the stories of the ANC, our own liberation heritage in the various channels. We'll have a bumper edition of ANC Today, which is our digital platform, released to delegates, covering some of the great stories and opinion pieces that we have really put out there in these 5 years. We must also thank yourselves. You have also been relying on ANC Today, have published some of our great stories there, have also held interviews with us about stories that were published on ANC Today. This effectively means that the ANC was also able to direct the narrative. There are a number of positive stories happening out there in government, our own fight on gender-based violence, what our government is doing in the infrastructure build environment. We have also expressed ourselves on the need to have stable coalitions or stable governments in the various metros so that the pace of delivering services to our people is not stalled or compromised by differences between political parties. In everything else we do, it must be the people we put first. And we hope those that occupy the seats of government in councils, in provinces, and even our own cadres nationally carry that kind of an understanding. We're quite happy with the pace of progress that has been made. Of course, we continue to deal with the challenges of energy and have appealed to the ESCOM board and the executive management team that they must do everything else possible to deal with this challenge so that we can give our people assurance that we are serious about energy security, but also to safeguard industries. So that's where we are. Conference is going to be sitting. Other platforms such as just specific to communications, such as TikTok, are also going to be utilized. You know, TikTok is one of the growing social media platforms, Mawanda. So we're also going to be doing quite a bit of TikTok as well. We're moving with the times. Modernized membership, now straight to TikTok. So, so already on Instagram or on Facebook. So we're just hoping that those who will be coming to carry forward with the work that we've done over the past 5 years will be able to enhance and embrace all of those platforms that we have used ourselves to make sure that the message of the ANC is out there. We will have dedicated television channels, which we are negotiating, as I said, with the SABC, as well as with the StarSat. StarSat specifically because they've got quite a bigger reach, especially in the continent. The biggest broadcasting network in Tanzania, in Zambia, in Mozambique, in Nigeria. So we would want to make sure that we use those platforms to make sure that our stories do not only reach our people here in the country, but others out there in the diaspora who have been part of the story of the ANC throughout the years could also be able to see it as it happens. So encouraged by that and the interest that yourselves in our country have taken on the work of the African National Congress. So we should be doing that site visit possibly next week. So let's keep our dialogue, but we will indicate to yourselves we are working with the Progressive Business Forum in the TGO to see what best could be done to enhance the media lounge and also see what other memorabilia we could be able to give yourselves so that seated at home you could remember that you were part of the historic team that covered the 55th National Conference. Thank you very much, members of the media. If you have got questions, you are free to ask. You work for? Is that your name is? K? A? Why do you guys fight over her name? I guess she's telling me the name. Yes, yes, that's why we invited her. Yes.
Are you going to deal with load shedding at
Nasrec load shedding, Lizeka, Tandombali, Norman and Slee. I ask your names because when I like calling journalists by their names.
Yes.
Just in terms of the interviews, you said that we can request interviews with any specific member of the ANC or leader of the ANC. Will we have an interview before with the outgoing president of the ANC?
Okay.
It's Tanya Michael from the Business Day. Just on the letter that the Electoral Commission sent to provincial secretaries regarding the financial statements of candidates, has the EC placed a ceiling on how much a candidate can receive for their respective campaigns? And does the Electoral Committee have any powers perhaps to scrutinize these the bank statements and all the financial statements that come to? What powers does it have? Thank you.
Okay. Anifuni sigqibe ngale side and then si-answerishe sibuye ngala. Okay.
Valerie Titani, from Africa. My question is similar to what Tando asked. It's about the financial
Records.
Yes. How do you plan to monitor? I know that you have said that those are certain donations and so forth, but surely that will also be a very difficult process in terms of, as well as how candidates will be funded. Because if someone gets R1 million and someone gets 100 rand, surely it won't be fair play for everyone. How are you going to monitor financial statements? As well as what has been the reception from the members of the ANC when it comes to the disclosure of these financial records? Coming to the issues of BGMs, the Free State has been battling to successfully hold their branch general meetings. They were also saying that some members deliberately stand outside of those BGMs and ensuring that it doesn't correlate. What is your message to some of your members? Thank you very much.
Just to direct edge on what you just asked. In terms of, we know there's issues of the current president being accused of running away from the media or accounting practices. But perhaps to extend the question of this, is it possible that before the conference we have the entire top 6/top 4 here open to everyone who is interested in the media to ask questions about the past 5 years and what they have done to account publicly to the rest of the ANC members and the country. Thank you.
Okay, so Mawandi is saying that we must have a pre-conference. Discard the process of conference. Come and have a conference here. ANC ignore. Pre-conference shit. That's what you are saying. It's not possible, my brother. No, you are saying to come and account publicly to members of the ANC and the media. No, Mawandi, it doesn't work like that. We are an organization. We are an organization. We are responsible and answerable and accountable to members of the ANC. That's why we call a conference. Again, we do it State of the Nation's address, country. Cape Town. Country, State of the Nation's address, President goes, Cape Town. We have got our own constitution of the ANC. We're an organization. Let's respect that part. We're an organization. We've got our own constitution. That is why election, for you to be elected in the ANC, your qualification is not just being a South African. It's not enough. I don't think you're South African. No. You must be a South African. But you must also be a member of the ANC in good standing. Being a South African alone does not qualify you to be elected in the ANC. Eligibility, because the ANC is a voluntary enterprise, is joined by people. They become members of the ANC. They participate and submit to all of its processes. So we've got conference. You will get the organizational report of the conference, for instance, is intended to give the state of organization. So if you want to know what we did in the past 5 years, once the organizational report is presented, then you can field those questions. Because officials themselves fulfill various responsibilities. Well, I hear you saying that the president has been evading the media. I'm not aware of that. He has been going to this Letsema campaigns. And in all the campaigns that he had, he will do the doorstops. He will talk to journalists. It's never, I mean, I was with the president in Limpopo. He spoke to journalists. I was with the president in the Free State. He spoke to journalists. I was with the president in Delmas. He spoke to journalists. Kaina, uchabile batho kae? Eh? No, I get mo a itshweni mo. Re sa tla mo. Ne re solva fela ya hore o chabile batho, a chaba batho. Well, comrades, you will also understand that sometimes in our absence, it's difficult to coordinate. The president does not coordinate his own media. DIP does that. So during Mama Winnie's birthday, we were not present because we had other things to deal with. So Lena, President Wabatu la follow moto roban, libona rauna media, lenyoko muchiana mu. Security detail. So please, if we want to talk to a president, if you are going to an event because the president is coming and you might want to talk to him there, let's follow what we said about the national conference. Warboja up front. SABC is gonna be lame figures. The city man, please. Stella doctor 2 minutes no mungabi. Then we are able to whisper. Let's cooperate. Let's I mean, you are making a request. Fine, Lizega. What we'll do, because it's not just you. We've received the request from many others. So when we meet next week for the site visits, I will tell you on what dates are possible. So I will talk to the president's team. We'll look at his diary and then ask him. He had indicated previously his willingness to meet with journalists prior to conference. So if diary permits, he will still make that time available. So I don't think there's a problem. This president, this sitting president of the ANC, is one president who has been available to journalists. So he has spoken, I mean, unless you missed out, maybe the media house did not deploy you, but your colleagues were sent. You know, so it's possible that you were not the one sent, but there are people who were sent to come and. No, serious. I mean, the others came. Those who came had an opportunity to cover. So, Lizega, I'm sure I covered your question. So, if there is availability, load shedding. Well, at the National Policy Conference, Nasrec did indicate that they do have alternatives in an instance where we've got challenges. So no need to worry. Yeah. So you don't. But I've seen that some of the media houses do have their own UPS units and all of that. So I think you guys are commercial entities, so you're quite organized. You can sort yourself out on some of those things. Is there a question we left out, or if I need disclosures? Tando, maybe let's explain that the intention behind disclosures is to really limit instances of vote buying. So there are no ceilings put and all of that, because we do not want money to be used to determine views of ANC members. That is why the request for disclosure also request you to indicate what that money was used for. Well, I'm Tando. I want to be in the NEC. I'm a member of the ANC in good standing. I had 100,000 in my savings account. I used it for my own campaign to aid the following: buy data for my campaign team, which included Mawande, Mbali, in that order. Pot fuel for them in the car because they need to drive. My ward is quite vast, and because I'm campaigning nationally, you know, such things. You know, these are practical things. Because if Mbali is unemployed and she's part of your campaign team, how do you expect Mbali to move around? Mara, for Mbali to move around from one town to the next town can't cost R1 million. Once the amounts start to look worrying, then we ask, what was Mbali doing now? That's why the disclosure seeks for you to also explain what these resources were being used for. I can't have a branch. What for? Yabuko akago palaboro. Kere ke be ke thusha branch. Mara ke spendile 20,000. Bana. O do tsamaya kana magale. O collecta batho ka baki. No, yes, well, yes. I mean, you must not do that because it's dangerous. There are also people at home who can hear English. You must accommodate them. Ke ra re more skwa re gopole o na le motho a dutšeng kwa phalabolo wa sa kweng ene o lebeletse o do betha matsogo re yo wa tsa mogwano o mo kwa o no bona fela ka le more a ka ba bolla sekgowa so re ba naganele le bona batho bao. So it's very important. We must do English, but this short left is important for our people. We lead. I mean, ba no re yo wa tsa ngwana o tlhalefile o mmona fela ka o bolela gore se ke sekgowa se we can't. So we have to accommodate everyone. So those are the things that we are trying to do when with these disclosures. So let me explain. I might just be answering your question. The intention of disclosures, because that's what we must establish. What is the intention? What is the intended purpose of these disclosures? The intended purpose of these disclosures is to minimize, isolate, avoid, and effectively deal with vote buying in the ANC. That's the intention of disclosures. The intention of these disclosures is to be able to protect the right of members to elect their own preferred candidates without them feeling that they are commercially entangled to fulfill a view because they received a brown envelope. That is the intention of disclosures. The intention of disclosures is to be able to consolidate and strengthen internal democratic processes of the ANC, where every member of the ANC, whether they've got money or not, can stand for positions of leadership. When you are a member of the ANC in good standing, you must be able to enjoy the full right to elect and be elected in a position of leadership, whether you've got resources or not. That is the whole intention. When the 54th National Conference of the ANC took this decision, it was concerned about the use of money in our own internal undertakings. So it is the intended purpose that we must all be interested in. Because the purpose is noble, is genuine, is necessary. It affirms the credibility of the ANC, and it restores a moral culture in the organization. One that allows our own members to be able to do what they want to do, participate in the full life of their own organization without feeling worried that they could be entangled to other processes or other arrangements. You want to make a follow-up? Well, the electoral committee, when it talks to yourselves, it will be able to, they will have to make that kind of a determination. The intended purpose of this is not to criminalize cadres. No, it's not its intention. The ANC is not a law enforcement agency. It's not our intention to criminalize cadres, no. I get a little shopong a regular barojautswana when Tando, Omgoya Edgase, Omgoya Uluetse, Omgatanaga speaks. So I'm just saying, it depends. Someone might be using a 1400 to campaign, another one might be using a Lexus.
So would I be incorrect in saying that those rules have not been set with money?
Which rules?
When discrepancies are found.
Well, they will explain themselves. My job as the national spokesperson of the ANC is to really broadly speak to principles, you know. So we're just hoping that our own cadres will submit and cooperate with these processes, so that we are, because remember, it must appeal to your own conscience as a member of the ANC. If you decide that what I did does not really constitute a donation, you know, so why should I? It appeals to your own conscience. But it's the electoral committee that can talk to this. Here, really the intention was to explain communications, logistics. But of course, we can't avoid some of these issues that are already out there in the public and not clarify them. I'm sure we've clarified all of the questions this side. Oh, Free State and the one standing outside, or the blockade. Well, we always encourage our members that it is in their interest. You know, when ANC structures exist in the Free State or in any other parts in the country, in that community, it serves the desires of those community members. So when you hold an ANC meeting at Ranzo in your own community, it is not literally house that you are punishing. You are punishing your own community from getting the full benefits of being part of the African National Congress, which includes making sure that the program of socio-economic transformation that the ANC has engineered and driving on the ground is fully felt by communities on the ground. So our own personal issues should not serve to stifle how the ANC conduct its very work as an organization. So the disbandment of the province of the Free State, of the Northwest, of the Western Cape by this leadership was intended to strengthen organizations in those provinces. So it's worrying that we might be going to conferences with the two of those provinces, of those three provinces, not having gone to their provincial conference. Because the critical question to ask is, why were you disbanding them? Why were you disbanding them? So we were disbanding them to be able to drive renewal and strengthen them. So when cadres there don't do what they were intended to do, they actually cast doubt on why we disbanded those structures. Because when they were disbanded, there were provincial executive committees in certain instances. Today, the Free State has not even set a regional conference. It's a point of concern for us as members of the National Executive, because we are going to take this organizational report. Because when you disband a structure, you must build and strengthen that structure. Go back to conference and say, I took this decision because I wanted to strengthen the ANC in this particular province. So when those things are being done, and BGMs are not sitting in those provinces specifically, they compromise the very reasons, the very logic we presented to yourselves when we're disbanding the structures. We are hoping that the province of the Free State and the Western Cape, working under their own IPCs and IRCs, are really hard at work to make sure that their regional conference and ultimately their provincial conferences could sit. You have seen in the Western Cape there's been a bit of movement. Regions have set regional conferences there, and we're encouraged by that. The amount of excitement that you see in the Western Cape around nominations, around BGMs, is quite encouraging. And we are hoping that there will be great stamina displayed by comrades of the Free State this weekend, and making sure that BGMs are able to sit. But we're monitoring the situation closely. We are interested ourselves in the end product, which is to have those conferences ultimately sitting, producing a leadership that could be able to drive the NDR in that province. We're done with this side, we take the last round, then we close the briefing. You can start, Budwa. Ngiyakwazi ukuthi Eric.
Yes, my question will be, I don't know whether I missed this one. How many delegates actually are you expecting to this conference? And which of these provinces, the top three, have the highest numbers of delegates? We know that it was previously KZN, but we want to know what it is now. The last question is, in Mpumalanga, or elsewhere, where there is violence at the BGMs, or what they call pre-BGM meetings, what is the ANC doing about the violence? Where there have been killings happening in Mpumalanga, in regional they can't seek for pre-BGMs, people there for BGMs. Thank you very much.
Just the last part, I couldn't get to the last part, Eric.
The last part is about violence in Mpumalanga. Some of the branches can't even sit for BGMs or meetings in preparation for those. What is the ANC doing about it? You know, the presentation of the plan.
Okay, that's fine. No, I heard it. Are you also on the queue, Slee?
Sorry?
Questions queue?
One of the questions was answered, the other question is more logistics.
Oh, okay. Sure, Norman. So, Norman, I cannot know you. You were my classmate. Okay, you can go ahead. I'm not meant to intimidate you. No, you can ask, please.
But part of the, I'm just doing a follow-up on Bani's question, because that's what I wanted to ask initially. That in the favor that the Western Cape and the Free State can make it to have their provincial conference sitting, how is the ANC going to ensure that the branches brings the correct number as allocated by the national, it doesn't exceed the number that in terms of others, because there are those who are blaming the ANC for not giving them, the strike or the workers, yes, then that it was all blamed on the ANC, the House for them not getting the BGMs. How have you addressed those issues?
Which ones? Just come again.
In the Free State.
They blamed the Tuli House for not having their BGMs.
Yeah, there's a statement that was released by the spokesperson where they said part of the issue was that the ANC they couldn't get the QR code and when the people were not there, so they couldn't get the system going.
Okay. Logistics.
So Sylvie and I work with the International Newswire, AFP, Agence France Presse. In terms of logistics, you say we can't talk to people directly during the conference. We need to ask you beforehand. How much in advance do we need to ask you? And for broadcasters, what exactly will we have access to?
Okay. No. Look, the intention for you to ask is to allow us to develop a schedule, secure the people you want to talk to, and make sure that we can be organized. You see, let me give you a simple example. In 2017, for instance, you did not have as big a number of media outlets like you have now. There have been a number of media outlets that came up, especially digital platforms. There are many of them, podcasters and all of that. So if you don't really organize your media around that part, you will have a challenge. So we are doing this because we want to give you access to those. But when we've got a schedule, we know that, okay, you said you are from which outlet? Okay, let's say the international media outlet, you want to talk to Gwede Mandash. So we say to Mandash, how does your time look like? So what we'll do to make it better for us is that we will start doing scheduling. So we can even sit with yourselves. If conference starts on the 16th, we can sit, say, on the 12th and just do a scheduling meeting with yourselves and say, okay, this is the kind of schedule that we'll want, especially the first day of conference. If there are people who are interested in interviewing before conference, like Lizega has asked, you then indicate, then we are able to secure those.
So we'll have them for sure, it's just a question of...
Yes, no, you will have them for sure. We are here to assist you. If we did not want you to have access to them, why would we call this briefing? We called this briefing to give you assurance. So this briefing is about us giving you hope that is going to happen.
Hope or assurance?
Assurance, both of them. Depending which one you want to use.
And in terms of what we'll be able to film?
Well, we'll also be taking you out to... So, for instance, if there are specific requests coming from a media house, you can come meet with us. We are here every day. You can make an appointment with Amos. We want to meet with the national spokesperson. We come to work daily. Then we understand your requirements. Because you might have specific requirements which don't necessarily need this big meeting. So if there, and the same goes to all other colleagues from the media. If there are requests that colleagues from the media may have, Mawandi, you come. If it's not something that requires public announcement here, you come, you make those requests, and then we arrange. We do that all the time. You were asking about delegates. Well, KZN is still bringing the biggest number of delegates. And in terms of the BGMs that have said, they've already said more BGMs. In fact, they will still be the ones bringing more. Because the numbers of BGMs that they've held would even surpass the number of the next biggest province. So they've got over 800 delegates that they're expected to bring to conference. The next province has got just under 650 or so, and the next one has got just under 630 or so. So, and KZN is already going towards the 700 mark. So no matter what you do, they will still be the biggest province in the conference. Violence, we've expressed ourselves. We've raised our concerns on the issue of violence in meetings of the ANC. We've urged the leadership of those different provinces to make sure that they really work hard to make sure that our BGMs really take the format and shape of being festival of ideas in those communities. When people leave their homes to attend meetings of the ANC, their families should know that they will come back home secured and in one piece. We've sent that strong message, not just in Mpumalanga, to all of our provinces. We've got the duty to safeguard the participation of the rest of our members. Every member of the ANC must feel that this organization is theirs and they are safe in the ANC. The ANC has got no room or home for criminals, those that might be gun crazy, who do funny things in our meetings. We don't have a home for that. And we have called on our structures that they should put measures to investigate and act swiftly on those whose conduct is not befitting of cadres of the African National Congress. So we're quite serious about that. We are going to maintain the very same order when we go to the National Conference of the ANC from the 16th to the 20th of December. No. I'm saying by now they should have passed the 700 mark. By now they should have, because I'm not sure, I'm not part of organizing. But the last report showed that they were trailing in the mid 600. And if they were trailing in the mid 600 on a report of the 24th, surely by now they could have gone beyond 700. But they will be the biggest. I've dealt with the question of violence. Well, Lituli House will never participate inactivities that stifle a provincial conference or a regional conference from sitting. We must admit that the introduction of the new membership system came with its own challenges. But we are quite encouraged by the speed through which the team here at Litulia House, even in provinces, has mastered how to interface and interact with the system. So if they raised an issue of QR codes e ka se be batho nomen ke system, QR codes ke system, barcode. No, I could not see the meeting because of a barcode. That can be people. It's a system. Because QR codes are systems generated. So if there was problems of QR codes, those were systems problems, which we are since resolving. I've dealt with the issue of the Free State extensively when I answered Mbali's question. So I'm sure that you were covered from that point.
Yeah, I just wanted to know how are you going to handle
The delegates. Actually, the Sunday Times, not in this meeting, they had raised the question around the delegation and how these provinces will be represented, seeing that they now don't have leadership. Remember, what we did is that arising out of the Northwest judgment, we then disbanded those IPCs because they'd already gone beyond their terms of offices. We then appointed IPCs in those provinces. So the IPCs that exist in Western Cape and Free State are well within mandate. They've assumed the full powers of the provincial executive committees and will be accredited to participate in the national conference in the same way that the PEC would have. But this is not a conference of PECs. This is a conference of branches. That is why the constitution of the ANC says at least 90% of delegates to conference, national conference, must be from branches. At least 90%. There could even be 95%. I think provinces were allocated about 22. And the league said their own allocation, I must just verify their numbers. And that they will then vote. I mean, because 22 is lesser than the number of PEC members. So it means that they must also again have a democratic process, a BGM type in the PEC to then vote who becomes the delegation of the PEC. So the same is going to happen. In the same way, like we are doing in our BGMs, they too will have to also vote on their own perspective. So democracy takes place at all levels in the ANC. So we're not going to just have, say, well, okay, no, PEC, therefore, no. It doesn't work like that. You have to also make sure that you subject them to a democratic process. Same is going to happen with the leagues as well. I'm sure this covers all of the questions that you may have had. I must take this opportunity to thank all of you for coming. We'll meet next week when we do the site inspection at Nasrec. We'll explain how the media arena is going to be set up this time around. And we are hoping to have you cooperating with us. We too will cooperate with yourselves. We will give you what you want, like we've done in the past. We don't hold back. I mean, we're in the conference, there's no need to talk to the national spokesperson. You have been talking to me a lot. You need new faces, new voices, and all of that. I make that available all the time. You don't find a national spokesman standing at the corner as if they too want to be interviewed. I operate in the national conference. We give you other voices. Now, thank you very much, members of the media. This now brings us to the end of our briefing. Thank you. Thanks, Farah. Hey, Tara.